Hi, this is CC Fridlin. I'm the home chef with FocusAL.com. During February, we did a great dinner menu, but the one thing we didn't have with that menu was an appetizer. So on this episode, we're going to show you a wonderful appetizer, stuffed mushrooms. Ready to start the stuffed mushrooms. Of course, we need some mushrooms to stuff. What I have here is some cremini mushrooms. I've already cleaned a few of them, but I want to show you how to do this. So this is a whole cremini mushroom. All I'm going to do is take my thumb, a little pressure to the side, and pop that right out, pop the stem out. Now what I want to do, you don't really have to do this, but I like to because it makes it easier to stuff. I'm going to trim a little bit of this and a little bit of the gills out. And then our last one. So now we've got our nice mushroom shells that are ready to stuff. Let me grab all the stems off of here. Leave some of that gills behind. So let's go ahead. We'll just set these aside for the moment. I've got a mixing bowl that we're going to assemble the stuffing in. So we're just going to start by chopping up the mushroom stems. Gills stuck on the end there. Won't hurt anything, but I just like to pull that off. So if you notice, I'm leaving the tip of the knife fully on the board and just rotating as I go through the mushroom. So now that I've got that ready to start, we'll start, one escapee. We'll just start chopping this fine. Just finish chopping this up. All right, there we go. We're going to add that to our mixing bowl. All right, the next piece we want to add are shallots. Now if you haven't used shallots, this is what it looks like kind of raw. We're going to peel this and clean it up. But they're a member of the onion family. The easiest way is to go ahead and trim off the end away from the root. The root's important. We want to keep that on. And then I'm going to go ahead and peel this back. In this case we actually have two shallots that were inside. We're just going to cut them together. I'll show you how we're going to do that. So again, we've got the root holding everything together. And what we're going to do, and this is the same way I cut onions, so what we're going to do is make some cuts parallel to the board, then vertical this way, and when we go across the face, we'll get a nice fine dice. Now shallots can be a little tricky because they do roll around a little bit, so you want to keep your fingers up here away from the blade. So we're going to start by making those horizontal cuts that I mentioned. Right, like that. Then we're going to come back and make the vertical cuts down to the back. I don't want to actually cut all the way through because I want that root holding it together for me. Just like that. And then we come down the front. You'll see we get a nice dice on these, on the shallot. Okay, there we go. And we've got that dice, so in that goes. Next up is a couple of cloves of garlic. For that we're going to go back to our handy dandy garlic press. Just stick the garlic cloves in there unpeeled. Go. So I've got some Italian flat leaf parsley and some thyme. So we'll go ahead and mix these together. We can just cut them together. And I don't really need to clean the knife here since this is all going in the same place. We'll just start with cutting through it, get a rough chop going. I like to rotate it a little bit, start through again, pull that together. Then we'll start giving it the good chop. Now it's real important that you wait and chop this when you're ready to use it. Again, the leaves will dry out once you start breaking them up like this, and we want to get as much flavor into the dish as we possibly can. Okay, so that's ready. So the herbs go in. All right, now we're ready for the rest of our ingredients. So we've got 3 ounces of ground pork. I actually picked this up at Earth Fare. You can pick up as much as you want. They've got it in the meat case. Some breadcrumbs, 2 egg yolks, and of course the best thing to mix this with, the good old hands. So in we go. I'm going to get this all mixed up. And then last but not least, now that your hands are good and messy, we're going to reach out, grab for the Parmesan cheese. Again, I've done a fine grate on the Parmesan cheese. Dump that in. So there's our stuffing for the mushrooms. Now I'm going to stop and get cleaned up a little bit, and then we'll come back and actually put the stuffing into the mushrooms. You know, you've always got to play with your food, but I was able to clean that up. We're ready to stuff the mushrooms. So I've got the stuffing we made here, the mushroom caps we got ready. I'm just going to use my small cookie scoop, which will help me get 4 here. That's a little too much there, so we'll clean some of that out. There we go. And we're just going to do this to all of these mushrooms. Get that in, use the back of it to push it down. Oops. Now, depending on the size of your mushrooms, and these are medium mushrooms, but you will most likely have some left. I've got enough to make a few meatballs, and we'll enjoy these a little later. But we'll go focus on the mushrooms here. So I'm heating up the pan with some oil in it. We'll get ready to cook these. I wanted to make a note. I did kind of take a shortcut on this to get through this recipe a little quicker. But on the recipe we're providing, you would go ahead and cook the shallots and the herbs and have all of that pre-cooked a little bit before you get to this point, which is certainly very suggested. But what I'm going to do is show you how we can do shortcuts at times. And we're going to go ahead, this oil is starting to shimmer, we're nice and hot. We're going to go ahead and take these mushrooms and put them in stuffing side down. And what I'm going to do to help this along, I'm going to go ahead and cover it so we can get the heat building up in there and cooking the rest of the mushrooms. And we'll check these in just about 3 or 4 minutes. Get underneath. Oh yeah, these are browned beautifully. Look at that. So we'll go ahead and turn all of these mushrooms over. Alright, so now we're going to lid it up, cook it for about 2 minutes, and we're going to come back and add some red wine to it. Now we're ready to go in with our red wine. Put red wine in there, lid it back up. We're going to let it sit for another 2 minutes. Alright, so these stuffed mushrooms are done and ready to serve. What we want to do now is just take them gently out of the pan, put them onto our serving dish. Definitely a wonderful way to start a meal. And of course, mushrooms are great because they soak up that red wine from underneath as well. And there we have it. We have our stuffed mushroom appetizer ready to go. This is C.C. Fridlin, the Home Chef with FocusAL.com.